Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Susie. Or good afternoon, Susie. G-Man, good morning. Susie, I love that every morning you come on here and you say good morning, and it's good afternoon for you. I love it. All right, so zooming out to the higher time frame just to see what we got here. Honestly, the overnight session with London was a little choppy until this last hour. So pulling up my session so you can kind of see the shading. The blue is the Asia session. That one sold off pretty nicely, but London chopped quite a bit until this last little bit where there was a pullback. We did break below this level here and all these wicks. So breaking below that makes me wonder if we are going to get a correction today. But we did have this fair value gap right here on the higher time frame. And that's pretty much where we bounced. So it'll be interesting to see if this fair value gap holds or if we break below lower. My fair value button is going crazy. All right, delete those. There we go. So, yeah, this is that fair value gap on the higher time frame. Dang it. Let's see if that holds or if we continue lower. We do have another one down here. I mean, we have quite a few levels that we can go lower. So it'll be interesting to see how the market opens. Lots of levels lower. There's another fair value gap right there. So I could see us coming down to like 685-ish. Looking at the visible range volume profile, there's quite a bit of support here at like 730, 740 area, which is also previous day low. And there's a gap there. There's a gap from the market open on Sunday at like 745-ish. Having trouble with my buttons today. Turn this into a scope. There we go. So that's a pretty good support area since we have the previous day low there and that high volume area. So, I don't know. I kind of feel like we might get a correction today. It's already kind of starting to break below some levels. We have a couple of support areas down here. If we do get a correction around the 730 to 740 area, and then lower below that around like 670-ish. But yeah, we'll see if it's going to be down or up. Looking at the upside, we are below yesterday's value areas. We came back up and rejected at that point of control, and now we're coming back below value area low. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards shorts. I think we'd have to get back above VWAP for me to be interested in longs. But coming down to the lower time frame, this purple line is the anchored VWAP from the London session, so we're below that. The white line is anchored from yesterday's New York Open. We're below that. We're below all the VWAPs right here. This red anchored VWAP is from the low from earlier this morning. So if we break below that, I definitely think we could hit some of these lower levels below us. Anybody take any trades yet this morning or last night? Or are you starting your accounts fresh? Yeah, London was super choppy. Looking at the lower time frame, I mean, look at that. If you avoided that, good for you. There really wasn't any clear direction until, what was that, like 7 o'clock my time, 7 Central? Gold last night. Yeah, if you guys haven't looked at gold recently, it's just been up. Looking at the higher time frame, there's a little pullback right now. But dang, all up. If you caught this bounce off of VWAP, you could have just ridden it all the way up. That's crazy. So that's another reason. I know gold and the NASDAQ are not 100% inversely correlated, but with gold just pumping, I do feel like NQ is due for a correction. So a little bit of a short bias this morning, but as always, want to try to stay flexible and read price action. News. We do have a couple things this morning, actually, so good reasons to stay patient. Let me pull up my screen. I know we have Powell talking like right at market open, which is never fun. Or did that go away? Yeah, Powell, a bunch of people are speaking at market open, and then we have PMI at 9:45 Eastern, 8:45 Central. And then US JOLTS job openings 30 minutes into the market open, and then another manufacturing PMI 30 minutes into market open. So lots of stuff, speakers, and then a couple of red folder news events. So unless something like perfect presents itself, might not be taking a trade within the first 30 minutes. So we'll kind of sit back and see how things go. Hopefully we get some good volatility though. We've had quite a few choppy days. Yesterday was pretty choppy for the first part of the session. Last week we had several choppy days. So hopefully we get some good movement today. Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Coach Set. We got market open in less than a minute. And then lots of news events, you guys. Trade safe. Consider sizing down a little bit. See what we get here. Market's open. I wonder if the market's gonna kind of be choppy for the first 30 minutes or so. Just with speakers and news and all that stuff coming up. It'll be interesting to see. While we're kind of waiting for a trade setup here and waiting for news, if you guys haven't already, go hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. Funny thing, yesterday, you know how the market price action was just horrible and there was nothing fun to talk about, so we were telling jokes. My husband watches my stream every once in a while just to kind of see how things went, and like he's really supportive of my trading. And he's like, must have been a rough trading day if you guys were telling dad jokes. It made me laugh. Yeah, kind of as I suspected, a little bit of a choppy open. Everyone probably being cautious, waiting for the news to come out. Good morning, Shez Miguez. Good morning, Jose. Definitely going to be patient and wait for what the market gives us, but I could see where if we break below this anchored VWAP, we are going to come down and hit some of those levels below us. This level right here around 742, or this region, I feel like is a pretty solid level. There's lots of confluence down here. There's previous day low, there's this high volume area, which is the gray shaded area. And then we do have a gap from Sunday night's open at about 745. So if price comes down to this area and gets a good bounce, that could definitely be a good potential for a long. It's kind of what I'm looking for. Something down here. But again, lots of news coming up, so we'll be patient. Super choppy open so far. Man. I really hope that this is just because of news and it's not going to be another day like this. Starting to get a little bit annoying with all this choppy price action, you guys. I'm curious to hear, what are you guys thinking we're going to get today? Are we going to break to the upside and make some new all-time highs again? Or are we due for a correction on the NASDAQ? What are your thoughts? Shez Miguez wants a spike and a dump. I don't know about a spike. Maybe if we get a spike, we could come up to here, like VWAP area or like value area high, somewhere in this region before we dump. But I don't see us going that much higher unless we're just going up today. Since we're staying below all of yesterday's value areas, I kind of feel like we're just going to go down first, and then maybe a bounce, or just down. I'm with you on that, Susie. Kind of leaning towards down. I feel like we're due for a correction, but gonna see what price gives us. Kind of watching levels. Like I said, if we get up above VWAP and stay up above there, like stay up above this region, I'll put a little circle up here. If we kind of get above here, then I think I'd be looking for longs. And if we start to get below this anchored VWAP, I think I'll be looking for shorts. So far, 6 minutes into the open, and we ain't going nowhere. Continuing this choppiness. Traders are definitely waiting for that news release. I guess I can pull up financial juice. Is Powell actually talking already? Or is he kind of just getting ready to? Is anyone else watching? Anyone else enjoy listening to that man? I know I've asked before, and some people are like, oh, I can't stand it. And then some people actually listen. Hanging on his every word. I was about to say we're getting a little bit of movement down, but nope, the chop continues. Be Frosty, you're gonna go take a nap? Yeah. You could probably come back in like 30 minutes. And that's when the real price action will actually start, when all the news is released. Oh, they're all on the stage together, so are they all kind of talking at the same time? It's not just Powell? That's interesting. Let me measure this because I'm curious. This is making me laugh. There's the top of the range so far, and there's the bottom of the range. We got a 27-point opening range so far. That's exciting. Yup. I've heard that before too, B Frosty. You can put Powell on in the background and have him put you to sleep with that monotone voice. We have that first news release in 5 minutes, right? Yep. S&P Manufacturing PMI. And then 15 minutes after that, there's the other PMI and JOLTS job openings. Powell said he would have cut except for the tariffs. Trump and Powell, man, they need to start getting along. I feel like they're just constantly taking jabs at each other. It's almost like every press conference too, they have some way to like point a finger at each other. Well, it looks like I double marked my anchored VWAP. Something's going on there. What did I do? I must have clicked some button where, like, it won't let me delete stuff on my trading view. It's weird. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. Anyone know what I did where I can't delete stuff? It's weird. It's being weird. Choppy, choppy, choppy. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This lock all drawings, is that what I did? I don't know. All right, getting some movement down. That's only on the 1 minute though. And with news coming out in 2 minutes, don't want to be taking any trade, but that looks good. We're heading down. I think at this point, since we have news in 2 minutes and again in 17 minutes, I'll wait for the news release and then see if we get a bounce at one of these levels. I think that's what I'll do, is stay out of the news for now. That does look good though. If anyone is braver than me, definitely breaking below that anchored VWAP. Looking good. Let's see what that news does. Well, nothing. Unless it's a delayed reaction. That was not much for a big red folder news candle. That was interesting. Yep, that didn't really do much. Not much of a reaction there. Very interesting. Well, we do have our 15-minute opening range so far. The opening range high is right at that point of control from yesterday. So that is interesting. That could definitely be a point of resistance. Getting a little bit of movement back up. Let's see if it rejects and continues back down, or if that was it. It was just a little fake out to the downside. But again, we have news in about 14 minutes, so I'm going to sit out for now unless something perfect and amazing just shows up. Brian, good question. So point of control always changes. My point of control is from yesterday's New York session. So for me, Central Time, that's from 8:30 to 3 is when I mark it off. And yes, it'll be continuing to change for this current session, but for the previous session, it's done since that session is closed. So I use this session volume profile indicator. And if you scroll back to yesterday's session, this is what it looks like. And I just mark off the value area high, the point of control, and the value area low. The point of control is that yellow dotted line. So I just put my lines on there manually so that I can turn off this indicator, because it starts to get messy, because it's also going to be on today's session. And you can see it's kind of sitting like right on top of price action, and I don't want that to be there, so I turn it off. Every once in a while, as we get later into today's session, like if I happen to be trading after lunch or something, then I'll turn on today's session volume profile, because there's enough data where the point of control and that kind of stuff actually matters. But right now, in my opinion, there's not enough data. There's only like 18 minutes of volume. So the session volume profile right now doesn't matter. So I turn it off. Uh-oh, B Frosty's already going short. Oh no, and there's a wick. Did that stop you out? Definitely don't want to be in trades right now. I don't want to be. Oh, it didn't stop you out. Where's your stop loss? All right, so now that we're starting to come higher, that could be a little fake out to the upside, because that's also sitting right at yesterday's point of control. This could be a spot for a rejection, a little fake breakout on above the 15-minute opening range. Or if we get some continuation, I personally am not gonna long from here. Two reasons. One is we have news in 10 minutes. Two, we have VWAP right up here. So I still think even if we come up here, we could get a rejection. So I'm gonna wait and be patient. If anything, like I said, this could be a little fake breakout on the 15-minute opening range, and then we could be coming lower, which I think is a lot more likely, actually. I could be wrong though. This could be a 15-minute opening range breakout to the upside. But again, not my trade. I think I'm going to sit this one out. Oh, B Frosty, you're short on gold? Okay. I was wondering. I was like, man, where's your stop loss, dude? What's gold doing? Is it getting a correction? I don't know. With how much it's been going up, this could be a little base to move higher. But I haven't really looked at all that price action. Good luck to you. All right, NQ coming up to VWAP. Let's see if it rejects, you guys. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? All right. Getting a little rejection. This is a tough spot right here because normally this could be a 15-minute opening range breakout and retest for continuation higher. So you could long this, but it's also at a big resistance point with VWAP and the all-time high anchored VWAP. So we could be rejecting right here. Right in this spot right here, that could definitely be a spot for a resistance. Definitely a tough play. I mean, I came into the day with a bias that we're going to get a correction and we're going to go short. So my mind, I'm thinking we're going down. But again, this could be a 15-minute opening range breakout, retest, continuation. Oh, Top Cat, don't say that. I don't want a sideways chop day again. For me, again, I'm going to sit this one out. I think news is making me a little nervous. And then also, like I said, I can make an argument for a long and a short here. Short, since it's right below VWAP, it could be rejecting. It could be a fake breakout. Could also be a continuation to the upside. Breakout, retest, long. So for me, it would be a gamble. I would just be guessing. Are there sellers at 840 on Bookmap? I actually have not even looked. Let's see. There's 81 orders at 850, which is right at value area high. So yeah, this definitely could be an area where it's going to reject. We got 5 minutes until more news. Jolt's job openings is usually a pretty big mover. Moves the market quite a bit. So my advice to you guys, if you're not in a trade right now, wait. Just wait 5 minutes. This doesn't really look like it'd be a good 15-minute opening range breakout trade. Definitely looks like it's rejecting. Didn't really get a good bounce. It is still above that New York anchored VWAP though, so if it's going to continue to the upside, it could come down to VWAP and then bounce. Yeah, there's lots of scenarios here. That's why I'm sitting this one out. Let's see what news gives us in about 4 minutes. Yeah, I'm with you, G-Man. I can make an argument for long and short here. So I've learned, for me at least, that means don't trade it. I want to feel, I trade better when I'm confident and I'm like, I have 3 reasons to say that this is going long. But if I have like 2 reasons for short, 2 reasons for long, and I can kind of make an argument both ways, then I shouldn't take the trade. To me, this looks like it's going lower. It hit this resistance area here. Doesn't look like it's getting continuation up. But it's sitting right here at New York anchored VWAP. It could go up from there. Like I said, that could be a possible bounce area before continuation. 3 minutes until news though. Let's see what we get. All right, D-Gens, be honest. Who's in a trade right now? Don't be shy. Tell me the truth. Who's trading right now? Uh-oh, Shez Miguez is short. All right, put in your take profits and your stop losses, and let's hope that news makes it just dump all the way to your take profit. Everybody cross your fingers for a short. For Shez Miguez, let's do it. Let's see what we get. I hope we get this scenario here where news makes us just dump down to this level and we get a strong reaction off of it and we can take a little scalp long. That's what I'm hoping for. Beverly's sitting this one out. Probably smart. All right, coming down to the opening range low. Crazy little move. So it didn't come down to this area, but it did come down to the bottom of that 15-minute range, and I had a pretty good bounce. Let's let this settle a little bit and see if we continue higher or if we continue lower. Ah, just missed your exit. Yeah, I could see that. If you had your TP at the 15-minute opening range low, it just missed it. it kind of looks like it might continue lower though. I mean, it's early, obviously. That news candle hasn't quite settled yet, but I kind of get the feeling that we're going a little lower. We'll see. No, it didn't quite wick the low. So I have my low, 15-minute range low at 779.75. And that news candle low was at like 782. So it was like 3 points away from hitting that 15-minute opening range low. All right, let's let that news candle settle and we'll see where we're headed. And then maybe we can actually get some real price action and take some trades. So far, so good on reading price action. We hit that VWAP area and rejected. Kind of getting vibes that we're going to continue lower. So we could possibly look for like a 15-minute opening range breakout to the downside if we come down and like retest. Or if that all happens quickly or I don't see a setup that I like, we can see if it bounces in this area down here. It's kind of what I'm waiting for. I keep reading your mind. Well, hopefully we're right then. It would kind of be nice if price just got heavy because there's quite a few levels below. Let's just get in a short and like ride it all the way down to 22,675. How about that? All right, starting to head back down to this range low. If you were brave, you definitely could have taken a short from this 15-minute opening range high because it looked like it was rejecting. But that was the bounce from the news candle, so I didn't want to jump in that early. Maybe I was being scared. If we were to take a short here, let's see what our risk reward would be. Putting our stop loss up above that wick. And then even if we just targeted the opening range low, that's a 1-to-1 risk to reward. If we come down to this area I'm talking about, that's a pretty good short right there. I'm tempted. It came back up to that opening range high, rejected, got back below VWAP. It's breaking below this low of day anchored VWAP. Kind of starting to show some weakness. Let's see if it comes back up to that high. See how it reacts up here at that high again. Do you trade reversals of the orb or just break and retest? It depends. Like right here, we could take a short from there and target the bottom of the range, which is what I'm gonna do. So stop loss would be up there. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and enter a short here. 804.5. Came back up to that opening range high again and rejected. I'm hoping we can get at least to the 15-minute opening range low. I do feel like this area down here at like 745 is a pretty good spot though. Let's see if we continue lower. So I'm going to put my stop loss at 826. A little outside the 15-minute opening range high and above that previous wick from the news candle. Feel like for me there's quite a bit of confluence there, but it is still pretty choppy. I think a big part of it is I think this level down here at 745-ish is a good spot to retest. It's just a matter of, is it going to go down now or later? But we keep rejecting VWAP and 15-minute opening range high. How much longer is Powell speaking? Is it supposed to be an hour? Or do they ever even put a time limit on it? Is it just until like he's done? All right, starting to come down. Let me go ahead and get these orange lines out of the way. Susie's short 22,806 entry. We got quite a few people talking or shorting. Good. Susie, you got a better entry than I did. I'm in 804.5. So I try not to trade two levels on Bookmap because a lot of times that messes me up. Like right now I'm looking at 745. Bookmap has a bunch of orders at 675. Which is my next level. Next high volume area that I have marked off. So that is a good level. It's just a matter of, is it gonna bounce here at 745 first and we should take profits, or is it just gonna get super heavy and dump all the way down to 675 right now? Look at the 15-minute time frame with those wicks. Definitely looks like it wants to go down. Come on. Let's get some continuation here. I'm gonna set up some targets. The first one, I'm gonna take one off at the 15-minute opening range low, in case I'm wrong about that continuation. I'll put one down at the previous day low of 750. And I might get stopped out, so none of that matters. It might not even matter. Looks like we're going higher. Alrighty. New plan. Coming back up to VWAP. We do have our initial balance that's right here so far. It bounced hard off the top of the 15-minute opening range on ES. Yep. Both of them got pretty good bounces there. So far, it's not getting continuation beyond the all-time high anchored VWAP, and the white one is yesterday's New York VWAP. But we're definitely getting some volume to the upside. This could be a 15-minute opening range breakout play, and it could be something that I'm missing. I just didn't want to be flipping from short to long all of a sudden, because I start to get tilted when I do that if I immediately flip from short to long. And then also we had VWAP above us and this value area high above us. So there's a couple areas that I could see it possibly rejecting. So I'm okay with missing it. Just kind of frustrating. We do have the London high up here at 22,866. So if it doesn't pull back from here, it could be headed up to 866. Yep, we're about 13 minutes away from that initial balance being set. So could get some trades off of that. There's a possibility we could come up to this London high and grab that liquidity and reject. So that would be an interesting play. If it comes up here and has a strong rejection, we can come back down. Take a short from there. If it comes up, it could reject from here. That's definitely possible too. We got quite a bit of resistance where we're at right now. If it dumps from here, man, that was quite a little fake out. Sitting at that point of control from yesterday and 15-minute initial balance high. Those are both at pretty much the exact same spot. So it'll be interesting to see if it bounces here and there's continuation up, or if that whole buy up was just a fake out and it's going to dump from here. That would just be rude. So rude. Oh my goodness. Well, if they were trying to fake us out, they definitely faked me out. That's for sure. Are we going to bounce at this New York view up? Or are we coming lower? What's it going to be? Powell's still talking. Maybe that's the problem. We should just wait until he's done. So looking at Financial Juice, it says 21% chance for July rate cut. That was at 9:07. And I know the expectation has been that rates aren't going to be cut until September. So I wonder if that's what that pump was, because that was right around when that news was released, or that announcement came out. So that could have just been a news driven pump, and now it's coming lower, which is what it was originally going to do. Well, all right, coming back to this 15-minute opening range low. So far, it's defending it. I still do like this level down here. So I'll be watching. If it comes down here and gets a good bounce, I think I'll take a long from there. If it bounces, if it continues to be heavy, then I could see it coming down to 675. So a couple levels that I'm watching. Uh-oh, G-Man was long and got stopped out. This market is being mean this morning. Could look for a 15-minute opening range breakout to the downside if it breaks and retests. But, I mean, you could have done that up here and gotten stopped out on the breakout to the upside too. So it's kind of just stopping people out in all directions right now. Hopefully Powell's done talking soon and things can settle a little bit. But I didn't see this before. I think it just popped up on Financial Juice. In about 35, 40 minutes, there is a roundtable discussion with Trump. So this wiki random unpredictable price action could continue. Could be a fun morning, you guys. Also, it's the first of the month and it's the first day of the quarter, plus all the news. Be careful today, you guys. Definitely trade careful. Don't overtrade. Size down. That's what I'm trying to tell myself. I'm telling you guys, but I'm telling myself too. Not going to get chopped up. That's the plan. Yeah. Mean reversion. Haha. Get it? Are we telling jokes again? Should we go back to the dad jokes? Top Cat started off our jokes again. Kind of looking like it wants to break below this 15-minute opening range low. Let's see if it comes down to this 740, 750 area and see what kind of reaction it gets there. I personally am not going to chase this. I could tell it was getting heavy, but with how bouncy and weird it's been, I didn't want to just chase this short. So we'll see if we get continuation down to this level, which it looks like it's going to. It's just a matter of how it's going to react. If it is just going to continue dumping, or are we going to get a pretty good strong bounce here? There's a lot of confluence at this area. If you zoom out, this gray shaded box that I put here is a really high volume traded area from like the 30-minute and the 1 hour time frame. So that could provide some support. We have a gap from Sunday night's open that's sitting right at 745. And then this is also previous day low. So could go for the gap fill and bounce, or it could just continue dumping. You never know. Let's wait and see. Bookmap has lots of orders lower. 22,675 has 135 orders. And then like 615, 22,615 has 110 orders. So we could be getting that bigger correction today. I kind of hope we are. I'm going to watch this level. Definitely not going to just enter a limit order long. This whole general section, see if we get a bounce here. And I don't think I'd be looking for a home run trade like all the way back to the top of the range or something like that. It might be a scalp, just because I think the bigger move today is down. That's just my thought process. It did hit that previous day low, but if we're already here at 749, I don't see why it's not going to come down and fill that gap, which is only like 10 points lower. So I wouldn't want to long from here yet unless it really starts to establish a good base or it starts to bounce really hard. That's interesting that the initial balance low is like exactly at previous day low, like pretty much to the penny. Look at that. That's pretty wild. I'm going to draw a line there, but it's pretty much going to be on top of the other one. There's our initial balance low. So, looking at a possible failed auction, a sweet little setup for that would be come down to fill that gap / high volume area, break outside the range temporarily and get a good bounce, and maybe come back up to VWAP. That might work. You marked what, G-Man? This high volume area or previous day low or what? Are we going to come up to opening range low and reject? Or is that the bounce and it's not coming lower? Oh man. Kind of feel like this morning for me has been a whole lot of misses. Like, I feel like I'm reading price well, I'm just slightly off. Like, I thought this would be a general region and that it would bounce, but I thought it was going to come a little bit lower. And then up here, I figured it would reject at these VWAPs, but I didn't take the trade. Oh, man. It's almost like I'm afraid to pull the trigger on some of these trades today. Kind of annoying. Bye, Susie. Have a good one. All right, so it rejected that 15-minute opening range low. Definitely could have been a possibility for a short there. We're coming lower, definitely. That was a heavy candle. All right, so now that we're coming back to retest that initial balance low, this area right here, like I said, has a possibility for a bounce. It did just fill that gap, the overnight gap from Sunday, but there is no sign of a bounce yet. I'm not going to take a long here, you guys. This is looking pretty heavy. I would want to see some sort of like consolidation and buyers starting to buy this back up. But I'm not seeing that yet. This could be a continuation. Like it could be breaking out below initial balance low and then continuation down to that 675 level. Definitely not giving me vibes of a bounce right now, you guys. Yet. But this is my level I was talking about. If we start to close back within the initial balance low and buyers are showing up, definitely could be a failed auction. So I'm watching and being patient. Yeah, Coach said I feel like there have been a couple missed trades. This is not giving me vibes that it's going to break back into the initial balance. Looks like sellers want to take this lower. I'm going to take a small short. I'm getting into a small position just because my stop loss would have to be a little bit higher. But 675 is the next high volume area that I see. $730.75 is where I entered. So zooming out to the higher time frame, we have that decent high volume area right there. I could see it coming down there. That's also a spot where there was kind of a fair value gap, so like 685-ish. But man, with how heavy this is, we could come down to like 600. $824 orders at 776. That's got to be fake, right? That's wild. Good questions, Mike. So, first time watching, welcome. I chart on TradingView. I think that's just because that's where I learned and that's where I'm comfortable. And then my trading is on Project X. I trade with the futures desk and Top One Futures. And I have a couple of Top Step accounts too. And all three of those use Project X. I've gotten to the point where I really like trading on Project X. And that's pretty much the only platform. Like, if a platform doesn't have Project X, I won't trade with them. Yeah, I saw that. I think so. G-Man said that Project X is going to be the only option on Top Step here in a little while. They're getting rid of NinjaTrader and Tradevate. I'm guessing that has to do with the fact that they're releasing their own brokerage. So they're probably getting rid of anyone else that has their own broker, like Tradevate. They want to keep everyone on their platform. It's a smart business move, in my opinion. I know they're making enemies with some people who really like NinjaTrader and Tradevate, but from a business standpoint, it's a smart move for them. Now they have all kinds of ways to be making money off of people. Oh no, can't get fast internet. Well, good thing you're not trading. I've made the mistake of trying to take trades when my internet connection is bad, and then like the internet goes down and I'm stuck in a trade and I didn't get my stop loss set. Ugh. That was a rookie mistake. Don't do that. So what I did, I've kind of been managing this trade as I've been talking without explaining to you guys. I moved my stop loss to break even because this kind of just looks like it's going to be a slow grind down, and I don't want to be in it if it's going to bounce. I'm taking one off at 676. Originally, I had my whole take profit there, but since this looks like it's just going to continue grinding down, I want to be able to catch a bigger move if it's going to continue. So I'm taking one off at 676. I have my home run take profit set at 600. If it gets a really strong bounce here at 676, which is a high volume level that I have marked off, I'll go ahead and just manually close the whole thing. But I want to be on that ride if this is just going to dump all day. Might come back up and stop me out. Let me look at, where is the initial balance? I guess it's possible it could come back up to this high volume area at like 730 to 740 and then reject again. I hope not though. I hope it just continues. Let me zoom out again and look at some more levels. So I had this one marked off. You can see that high volume node. So if you guys don't use visible range volume profile, check it out. These are definitely good ways to find take profit areas, because see all that volume right there? You can also look by eye and see that a bunch of price action took place there, but you can also pick it out a lot easier with the visible range volume profile. So there's one. The next level below that looks like it's at about 615-ish. And then below that, 570. So that's a good way, like if we're in a trending market where it's just continuing to move in the direction of your trade, this is a good spot, good way to find some take profit levels. On the higher time frames, not as much on the lower time frame because it only shows the price action that's on your screen. So like right now, it's not showing anything to the downside because I'm on the 1 minute chart and there's nothing. So I would have to zoom out to see it. People need to watch my videos. Well, thanks, G-Man. I think it helps me, honestly. Like, I'm not claiming to be an expert, like, veteran trader who knows everything. But you know what they say, like, if you know something in your head, that's one thing. But if you can, like, explain it simply to someone else, then that means you know it even better. So I think it helps me having to process all of my trading into like simple terms to be able to explain to someone who doesn't know what I'm doing. It's really helped me figure out how to simplify my trading and like actually understand what I'm doing, Well, this is continuing to dump. So I have that first take profit at 676. We'll see what kind of bounce it gets there. If it just dumps through that level, then the next one that I marked off was at about 610. So I'll put one there. This is looking good, looking good. Come on. Don't bounce before you hit my level. What are you doing? What is Bookmap showing? Yeah, Bookmap shows a whole bunch at 675. That's why I have my order at 676, just because a lot of times Bookmap orders can actually be support. Maybe I should have put it a little bit higher. That's going to be annoying if it stops me out. Have a good one, Mike. Hope to see you back soon. Dang it. Looks like it's bouncing from my level and it's not gonna come down to have actually hit my take profit. That's annoying. Come on. Are we gonna come lower? Maybe it is gonna come lower. It was just gonna give me a little heart attack first. Just kidding. No heart attack. There's always another trade. I could shake it off. So one thing I like to do is put an anchored VWAP on the low, especially if we're having trend continuation days like this, where it just seems like it's gonna grind lower. And that just kind of shows the shift in momentum. Like there were some buyers that entered right here, and if we start to break below this anchored VWAP again, then likely sellers are back in control and we're going to continue lower and the bounce is over. Sometimes I use it for re-entering. Like if I've already taken profits and I want to re-enter, then I use anchor VWAP for that. Or if I ever want to like add to a position, which I'm not planning on it today, but sometimes it's just fun to watch too. But if I was doing that, I would wait for a closure below and like some momentum going down. There hasn't been a close below yet, so it looks like the bounce up is going to continue. Come on. Are we going to go lower? So I know a couple other people got in short. Shez Miguel said that she took some profits. Anyone else still holding? Or are you guys out? So here is that potential, like if you were trying to find an entry in on a day like today where it's just a slow grind lower and it seems like it's going to continue to go lower, you could wait for this 1 minute candle to close, and if it looks like it's a strong bearish candle, then you could re-enter short and then put your stop loss above this wick low. Or like I said, if you're already in a position, you could possibly add to your position. I do that a lot on trending days. Still haven't had a closure below though. It keeps bouncing. Trying to take some profits at 682 and it didn't fill. Yep, I feel ya. Kind of makes me want to move this up a little bit. I don't know though. These bounces are kind of starting to look a little bit weaker. Maybe that's just me reading into it because I'm hopeful that it'll go lower. But I feel like it's going to continue down. We're just getting a little bounce. It's just a matter of how much higher is this bounce going to go. Dang, Graham, 8R trade. I love those ones. When you just get a good entry and you just hold that runner, feels so good. Then you can just like keep trailing that stop loss. So even if you get stopped out, you still make a good amount of money. You can just sit there and drink your coffee and watch the money roll in. Those are the best trades. I feel like it hasn't happened much in the last couple of weeks with so much choppiness. You kind of just have to see profit, take profit. So having a day where it's actually continuing in the direction that I want it to continue is nice. If we can get this to actually continue down. Come on. Definitely getting a little consolidation here. I just hope that it's consolidation for a continuation lower and not hope it's not basing and like bouncing at that 680 level that I had marked off. Because this was a pretty high volume area. So there is a possibility that that's holding as support, but it didn't really come all the way down. And it didn't have a huge bounce. So I kind of feel like if that was the bottom, then buyers would have just taken it. Coach Set, this is an honest question here. So how are you saying it's a bull flag? The reason I ask is I always thought a flag was typically a trend continuation. That's what I always thought. So like if it's flagging like this, I thought there was like a higher percentage chance. It's like 60-40 or something. It's not super high, but it's typically a trend continuation if it flags. And since the trend is down, I'm just curious how it's a bull flag. Honest question. Since I don't really trade patterns, I'm curious what I'm missing. Trade management. Sorry, Beverly. That's never fun when you have those kind of days where you're like in the right trade, but your stop loss is wrong, and then it continues in the right direction. Not fun. So it is breaking below that anchored VWAP, and it's closing below and starting to get some momentum down. So if, just to kind of give you guys some insight, like if I was not already in a trade, that's what I typically do to find a new entry. And I would have put my stop loss above that previous wick high and then entered somewhere around here once it broke below. You can also use that to add to your positions if you want to. It just kind of, that anchor VWAP shows a shift in momentum. So this bounce right here, buyers were in control for a couple minutes, and then once it broke back below, that's when sellers started to take momentum back. Just a good little tool if you guys are not familiar with anchored VWAP. Pretty solid. And then I'll delete that one since it's not really valid anymore. And if we start to chop here again, you can do the same thing. Anchor it at that previous low. G-Man hit his personal daily profit target on the futures desk. There you go. That always feels good. All right, so we hit that level at 674. Like I was saying before, I had one limit order there. I have some more home run targets lower because I'm not sure how much of a bounce we're going to get. If buyers step in and we start to get a strong bounce, then I'll just close it manually. But if we don't hold this level, which it kind of looks like we might not, the next area I have marked off is at like 610-ish. And that's based off of this visible range volume profile. You could see it a little bit better on, I think the 1 hour chart is where I marked it off initially. Yeah, so that's kind of the next, if I take that off, you can see it a little bit better. That's like the next area where it pops out a little bit. There, 30-minute, you can see it better. There's also a big wick there. So it could be coming down to retest this wick at like 600. So that's the next level that I have marked off. And then from there, we have like 573 would be the next spot if this dump is just going to continue. Getting a little bounce right now, though. Pretty good volume on that last candle. We do have Trump speaking at that round table in, what is it, 5 minutes? 3 minutes? Isn't he always, he's always late. So it's probably not going to be 3 minutes. He's going to make us wait. Oh, the daily low from June 27th is at 22,600. Yeah, that must be what that big wick was that I had right there. Yep, that was Friday's low. So, yep, if we get some continuation lower, we could bounce right there. I don't know, though. We're getting a pretty big buy up from my last level at 675. Hopefully we get some continuation lower. Tightening up my stop a little bit. I don't want to give back all those profits. I'm okay if I get stopped out because I can always find another entry. G-Man's done for the day. Awesome. Cool. All right, you guys. So it looks like we are getting a pretty good bounce at that level. So now what I'm going to do is this high volume area that I was watching for a breakdown below, we could come back up here and retest. So possibly like here in this area, which is also right in line with previous day low and the 60-minute initial balance low. Or I am going to do what I did before and anchor a VWAP at this previous low. Make it red so we know that's the low. And if we kind of continue this chop, like slow grind up here and then break below VWAP, we can enter short on that one. So couple scenarios that I'm watching for to find a re-entry. Your high of day anchored VWAP is below the initial balance low. I actually don't have the high of day anchored. Put that up here. Oh yeah, that's definitely a spot for a rejection too. Let me move these squiggly lines out of the way. It actually looks like it might be reversing here. Let's see if it actually closes below that anchored VWAP. Getting some momentum to the downside. I'm going to re-enter short, taking a small position just because I feel like I'm chasing a little bit, but there's definitely some momentum down. And I'm going to target that 600 level where I'll take off. I only took 3 contracts on this. So I'm going to take off 2 at the 600 level and then leave a runner because this is getting pretty heavy. I'm going to go ahead and move my stop loss into profit. Dang. Is this just a correction just because it needed to correct? Or is there some sort of news that we missed? Or are traders just scared because Trump's about to speak and they don't want to be in a position, so they're getting out? What in the world is this? I may have missed it. Did you add? No. So I had trailed my stop loss on the original position. I got stopped out in profit up here on the bounce at like 704. And then I re-entered. So I had drawn up my low of day anchored VWAP here, and I re-entered when we got that strong acceleration down. But I just took 3 contracts initially. I didn't add on the second position. I got stopped out and then re-entered. Yeah, I love anchored VWAPs. They work really well on trending days for sure. They can be a little bit tough on choppy days. If you don't wait for like confirmation of closure above or below or like getting outside of a range, you can definitely get chopped up with VWAPs for sure. Question of the day right there. Rad man, are you a good trader? I don't know. I mean, I've pulled out a couple of payouts from prop firms. I'm doing okay, but I definitely have a lot to learn, and I wouldn't say I'm an expert at all. I make lots of mistakes, but for the most part, I do okay. But I'm also a very humble trader. I don't think I'll ever call myself a good trader. I don't know. Maybe come back and ask me in 10 years from now. Maybe I'll say I'm good, but everything I've done in life, like I've owned multiple businesses, I've done lots of different things. And my mindset is always that I always have something to learn. So I would never say I'm like good at something. Always have room to improve. All right. I'm gonna I'm gonna move this up a little bit. I hate it when it's like so close to my take profit and then it bounces and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna miss me. And just because 600 is such a psychological level, like it might not come all the way down to it. So I'm gonna move it to 605. Come on, go grab it. Don't do this to me. Uh, thanks, Coach Set. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support, you guys. I have lots of areas that I would like to improve on, but so here's what I'll say about that. I feel like I have a good strategy. I feel like I read price action well. Like I use anchor VWAPs really well. I use VWAPs well. I'm really good at marking off levels. Like I'm decent at the technical part of it. The execution part and the emotional management part and the risk management and all that is definitely where I need some improvement, which I'm sure most of us can relate to. But I still have days where I'm like revenge trading, or like I oversize on one trade because I messed up on the last one and now I feel like I need to make it up, or like stupid stuff like that. And today I feel like this morning I've been a little bit trigger shy and I've missed like 2 or 3 good setups that I called out on screen. Like I said it, this is what's going to happen, and that's exactly what happened, but I didn't get in the trade. And I'll tell you, to be totally transparent with you guys, it's because I haven't been trading well. Like last week was a really tough week for me with all those all-time highs and a couple choppy days. So I didn't trade very well last week. And I think that's rolling over into this week where I'm like nervous. So that would be the area that I feel like I need to improve on, is the emotional management side of it. Holy cow, you guys. Well, it's always fun when you're like in a trade and it's just continuing. Like, I don't know where it's going to target. I don't know where it's going now. I mean, all right, let's zoom out. I'm going to tell you where I think it's ultimately going. If this dump continues, it's coming down here to 400. 22,400. If we don't get a bounce here at 600, it could come all the way down here. 22,400. I'm not saying it's going to happen today, but if this correction continues, this is like the main spot that I think it's headed. 22,400. Mark my words. I'm not saying I'm calling it, but that's my guess if this correction continues. Glad you guys took your profits and locked your accounts. Good job, good job. I always laugh at my charts after like taking multiple trades and watching the charts for a while. This, if you're an anchored VWAP user, then you know what I'm talking about. Look at all those VWAPs. All right, I'm gonna start to delete some of them. Delete that one. This is my high of day. I color coordinate them though, so I know what they all mean. But one thing you can see is they're all trending down and we're below all of them. So there's no reason to be entering longs. That's my advice to you guys. I've blown plenty of accounts trying to short or to long the bottom, catch the bottom. Don't do that. Don't try to long every bounce, you guys. Until proven otherwise, this is headed down and you should be finding a spot for a short entry. If we start to, so 600 was that wick area that I mentioned. And I think someone else in the chat mentioned it too. This was Friday's low. If it holds here, that's definitely a possibility. But I would not recommend longing until we like establish some sort of base and consolidation and then continue higher. You could definitely long here and you could possibly be right, but it's also a gamble. I wouldn't call that trading. That's more of a gamble. We are getting a decent bounce here. If you are going to trade it, you could just go for a little scalp long, but be ready to trail your stop loss pretty tight. So I do still have this one little contract. I'm going to put my stop loss a little bit tighter since we are getting a little bit of a bounce here. I personally still wouldn't enter long, although 600 was a really good level. It definitely was. But my trading plan, I personally like to trade with the trend. Did anyone scalp that 600 level? Anyone enter along there? The trend is bullish right now. Yeah, on the 1 minute time frame. So everyone has a different trading style. Like, yeah, on the 1 minute time frame, it's going up for sure. But you also got to zoom out and look at like the whole move this morning has been down. So if you're a scalper and you're just trying to get a quick like 15 to 20 points, absolutely, that would have been a good level to watch. I mean, I had it marked off. I figured we would bounce there. I didn't know how much though. So if you like to scalp those bounces, that could have been a good spot. I personally prefer to trade with the trend though. I wouldn't say every time frame is bullish. If you zoom out to like the 4 hour, for sure. Yeah, the 4 hour is bullish. If you look at this morning though, I wouldn't necessarily call this morning bullish. That could be a double bottom. That's possible. Could be. Getting a pretty good bounce here. So again, for me, everyone has a different trading style. I personally don't like to trade against the trend because I still see quite a bit of resistance up here, unless you just wanted to like get a quick scalp out of that, which that would have been a good level for it. But I wouldn't be interested in taking a long until we break above this 22,713 area, because that would mean we're making a higher high and we're also getting above the session anchored VWAP, the high of day anchored VWAP, not high of day, the session high anchored VWAP. You know what I mean? That didn't come out right. But yeah, if we break above there and hold above there, then we could be reversing. That's a possibility. But I don't want to go chasing it for now. Yeah, I do have a Top Step account. I do. All right, so at this point, I'd be open to one more trade, but I definitely don't want to give back my profits. Couple scenarios I'd be looking for: if we reject from here and continue lower, then I'd be interested in shorts. If this continues higher and we break above this 713 level that I'm talking about, then we could potentially look for longs. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I'd be a little bit nervous to take longs though. If I do take a long, it would just be for a couple of points. I wouldn't be holding it for a bigger continuation higher. I don't think, unless Bookmap shows that all the orders are up. But we have the New York anchored VWAP, the overnight VWAP, we have the 60-minute initial balance low. We have lots of levels where it could reject. So for me personally, I think I'd feel more comfortable with having it come to one of these levels and possibly look for another short. Could be wrong though. Definitely could be wrong. This is a pretty nice bounce. Man, that 600 level held for sure. And then zooming out to the larger time frame, that does look like it's a little bit of a double bottom. And you can see how much it bounced here. Like that was a strong V bottom. It's doing the same thing here. Dang. Pretty good level. So it's coming up here to this New York VWAP that's anchored from the high of this session. And then we also have this level here at the previous high at around 716. It'll be interesting to see if we break above that or if we're going to get a rejection. There's a couple of areas that I'd be interested in for a possible rejection. There's a little bit of confluence here with the New York anchored VWAP, really close to that initial balance low. So that's a possible area. And then we have the New York high anchored VWAP too. Look at that bounce, you guys. That was nice. Nice little buy up. What do you guys think? Was that 600 level? Was that bounce the bottom for the day and we're going to continue higher? Or are we going to reject up here and go lower? What are your thoughts? Hello and good afternoon, Marcus. Oh, G-Man thinks that was the bottom. Uh-oh. That was a pretty nice bounce, and I do like that it's kind of a double bottom. If I'm taking a long, though, I would want it to pass up above some of these key levels. Or I would trail my stop really tightly because there's quite a few spots where it could reject up above. 537 subscribers. What? I haven't even looked in a couple days. That's fun. Shez Miguez, you're in short. I know you're a fan of shorting. You're always talking about how you're short. Yeah, I mean, the overall trend is down. This is still potentially a lower high. The only thing I would have said on this is we still have room to come up to this anchored VWAP. So you could have been a little bit more patient there. Also, sellers haven't really showed up. Like, if you look at, even on the 1 minute chart, there's that tiny little red candle, but there's no volume to support it. If you don't watch volume, I would recommend that. If you look down here, I know my cursor keeps messing it up, but looking at these two 1 minute candles, there's not a lot of, like, this red down here doesn't show that there was a ton of sellers that showed up. So I haven't seen any indication for a short. And then another thing to consider is the risk to reward. Like, let's say you entered here. The stop loss would probably need to be like all the way up here. And for me, a 36-point stop loss, that's quite a bit. You'd have to downsize a lot. So that's my thought process in terms of shorting. I would wait for a stronger sign that sellers are showing up. Like, if we get a really strong 1 minute bearish candle down and it just like engulfs all of this and the volume is there, then yeah, we could be selling off. Also, make sure to zoom out too. Like if you go to the 15-minute time frame, like I was saying, that was pretty much a double bottom. Like we had a huge bounce from this level on Friday when we bounced. We had a huge bounce today. The 15-minute was definitely a bullish engulfing candle. Like it just ate up that whole last 15 minutes. So I don't really see any reason to short yet. You could also anchor a VWAP down here and then wait for a confirmation, like a closure below that, to show that buyers or sellers are taking back control. So those are a lot of things that I would look for in terms of shorting. So yeah, just be a little bit more patient and wait for confirmation on your trades. This definitely looks like it's gonna bounce and hold, unless, like I said, if it has some strong selling pressure and maybe breaks below this anchored VWAP. At this point, if I was to take another trade, I think I'm kind of leaning towards this bounce holding and maybe looking for longs. I wouldn't want a long here necessarily, because we do have this high of the New York session anchored VWAP that's sitting right above us. We have these highs over here at 716 that we haven't passed above. So there's definitely some spots where we could like reject up here and come lower, before bouncing up. So I wouldn't want a long right here, because I wouldn't have a good structure to put my stop loss. I think that's the main reason, is like, if I enter long here, where's my stop loss? Down there? A 95-point stop loss? Or do I just randomly place it somewhere? There's not any good like high or low to put my stop loss under. All right, G-Man, see you later. $685 and $710 are the high volume areas today. 685 is right where we're at right now. So let's see if we break above that or if we reject right here. And then 710. Yep, that's kind of that area that I mentioned before, at like 716. If it breaks above that, I could see us continuing higher. So right now I think I'm leaning towards this bounce holding and looking for longs, but don't want to enter long here because we don't have a clear structure. So gonna be patient and wait for a good entry. Take a peek at YM. What's going on there? Oh my goodness. YM looks like the gold chart. Oh, well, not anymore. It looked like gold did this morning, where it was just up only. Dang. That's pretty crazy how it just chopped and did nothing. Like, look at all that range, and then it just shot up. Holy cow. Something happened. See, this is why I didn't want to take a long from this spot. A couple reasons. We were still below this anchored VWAP, but also I didn't have a clear spot for where to put my stop loss. So if we kind of come down here and then get a good bounce, we could potentially enter long and put our stop loss down below this previous wick low. Or we could be going short. Like if this breaks below this anchored VWAP, then the trend could be continuing down. That's why I'm waiting and seeing, because I don't know. I haven't gotten a clear indication that we are reversing to go long. And I don't know if we're going to continue lower. If we get a strong continuation below this low of day anchored VWAP with some volume, which we got a pretty good amount of volume down there, we could be continuing short. And if that was the case, I would put my stop loss up here, which is a pretty big stop loss. I don't love that. So I'm going to size down if I take that short. I'm not in it yet. I want to wait for some confirmation if we do indeed break below this anchored VWAP. Could be a little fake out. All right, I'm going short. It's breaking below that VWAP. $641 is where I entered. So if this continues, man, we've already tested that 600 level a couple times. Could be going below that. So I'm going to adjust this because it was actually 641.25 where I entered. Levels below this 570 to 560 area, I think, is where I'm going to target. Take one off there and see how it reacts. I haven't set a stop loss, which, man, I don't want to let it come all the way back here. I don't want to risk that much, but there's no clear structure for where to put it. I think I would probably pull my trade off before it went all the way that high. I'm going to move it down to like below this high volume node. Even then, I don't like it being that high. Don't want to risk that much. Let's just hope it dumps and I don't have to worry about that. Top Cat says NQ is rejecting today's value area low. I didn't even have the session volume profile turned on. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's like to the T. My goodness. That's pretty wild. That's one thing I love about trading is when like all kinds of different confluences just line up. Like I wasn't even watching the session volume profile, which I normally do. I was watching this anchored VWAP and then also this movement below the anchored VWAP here. But rejecting this high of the New York session anchored VWAP also was in confluence with this value area low rejection. So it's kind of cool to see when everything lines up. So I have my first target set at 575, which is that next high volume area that I have marked off. Let's see what Bookmap shows. Do we have any big orders lower? We have another round of orders at 600, which is where it bounced earlier. There's an insane amount of orders down at 500. 128. 128 orders at 500. It'll be interesting to see if we go that low. What does 500 look like? Let me zoom out and see. 500 would be right here. I don't really see anything that like really stands out on why that level would be it, other than the fact that it's a round number. Really, I see 475 being even more significant because of that wick low. We do have, so this is something that I actually like to trade off of, is untested point of controls. So session volume profiles, the point of control, this yellow dotted line, a lot of times they get tested. So similar to like gap fills, there's a high probability that it would get tested. So if we continue lower below this 600 level, we have this untested point of control at 568. So that could definitely be a good target. Which is funny because that's pretty much where I'm hoping to get to if we get some continuation. I don't know though. We're still catching a bounce. I'm only in 3 contracts. I sized down again just because I'm already up almost $400 today. I don't want to give my profits back. So I'll take off most of the position if we get down to that 575 and 560-ish area. And then I'll leave a runner down to 500 just because we have all those orders down there. So why not? I know a couple of you were saying you think that we're going long. Is anyone else in a short with me? Or are you guys fading me and you're going long? What are you guys doing? Tell me in the chat. Are you long or are you short? Or are you flat? What y'all doing? Is anyone else in a trade right now? Looks like we're getting a little bit of a bounce. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it bounce all the way up to my stop loss. That's a pretty good big bounce. I'm not killing it yet though, because we do have this high volume area that I marked off at like 675. I want to see if it rejects there. Sazmet thinks long up to 711. Coach set shutting down. Stay green, y'all. Have a good day, coach. All right. I'd like to see it reject from here. Obviously. stating the obvious since I'm actually in a short. We had that decent selling pressure at the value area low. We still have not made a higher high. But this right here could be a higher low if this continues. So we're kind of stuck in the middle, no man's land. Yeah, that was a nice liquidity sweep. That would have definitely been a good spot for a long right there. I didn't take that though because I was just exiting a short coming down. So that was a really nice bounce. Kind of created a double bottom. I just wonder if this is kind of basing and then that was the low for the day and we're going to continue higher. Or if we're just pausing a little bit here and we're going to continue lower. That's the part that I am unsure of. Let's see if we can get another strong sell-off. Volume is starting to die down a little bit. Kind of starting to get into that lunch hour where trading profitability kind of starts to go down for me. So quite possibly a trade that I should have avoided just because of the time of day, simply. Knowing my trade stats and knowing that my win rate goes down this late in the day. Shez Magaji said, feel like it might be here. What, the dump? I hope. Is that what you're talking about? Or do you think it's going higher? Let's see what the 5 minute looks like. Yeah. I could see this going either way, honestly. When we had that big drop below anchored VWAP, I was fairly confident that we were continuing lower. But now that we've gotten a bounce and we're kind of consolidating, I could see where this is possibly just establishing a base from that bounce at 600 and before it continues higher. That's definitely possible. If we make a new low, if we break below this 22,615 level, then I do think we'll go lower. Think you'll leave it there. Good, Chesmiguez. Lock yourself out. Locking your accounts is such a sense of relief, in my opinion, because then it just takes the decision out of it. Like if you leave your accounts open, you're like, maybe I'll look at the charts later. Maybe I'll set some alerts and come back and look again. Maybe I'll trade this afternoon. And it's always kind of like in the back of your mind. And you're like checking TradingView on your phone while you're trying to do other things. But if you decide to lock your account, then you can just be done. It's so easy to just not look at the charts and not worry anymore. It's kind of a relief. See you later, Chesmiguez. All right, guys. I'm starting to get a little less confident in my short. It looks like we're not getting that continuation yet, at least. It's possible that we're establishing a little bit of a base here from that bounce at 600 and could continue higher. I could see it going either way, which is not a good thing when you're actually in a trade. In hindsight, maybe shouldn't have entered it. I adjusted my stop loss a little bit lower. Originally, I had it above these wicks. I moved it down to 682. Just because on the higher time frame, there's a little bit of a gap there. So it could bounce up and fill that gap. But if it doesn't reject from there, then I don't want to be in the trade anymore. Let's see how this ends up. If you guys haven't already, if you're still here in the chat, go hit that thumbs up button. I'd appreciate it. It's a free way to support the channel. It helps me out. Definitely helps out the algo, you know, all that jazz. You don't have to, but if you want to, if you're willing to, I'd appreciate it. And I've heard it gives me good luck too. If all of you go hit that thumbs up button, then maybe I'll actually win my short. It'll go down and hit my target. That's what I've heard. Let's see if it's true. Let's see if it's true. I just got 3 more likes and I'm seeing a red candle, so I think it works. If you haven't already, go hit that like button because that made the candle go red. It's working, you guys. It's working. Yes. Luna said, and you also need to invite 10 friends to come watch the channel with you, or you'll have bad luck for 7 years. That is totally true. I've heard that's true too. Oh my goodness. Do something. See, this is why I don't usually trade after the first couple hours of the open. I think I got excited because I was reading price action really well. So I was like, all right, let's enter another trade. But this slow, grindy price action, I can feel myself starting to get impatient. And then I start doing stupid stuff like moving my stop loss or like, I don't know, dumb stuff. Or almost sometimes I just find myself wishing for it to like stop me out or hit my profit target. I don't care. Do something. Just make the trade be over with. I don't care if you go up or you go down. Just make a decision. When I start having those thoughts, that's when I know it's time to calm myself down and then probably stop trading after my position plays out. Hager says, I don't have 10 friends. Uh-oh. Well, go drag 10 people off the street onto the channel. Go tell them to like open up their YouTube app, find my channel, click subscribe. Just kidding. Don't do that. I'm just messing with you. Only crazy degen people like us want to day trade anyway, so. Most of my like real life friends think I'm crazy. I only know like one person in real life outside of like the people I've met while being a trader. I only know one person in real life that is a day trader. A couple other people like dabble in stocks and stuff, more like long-term positions that they'll buy and sell after a couple months of holding, but they kind of just play with it and it's their retirement. I don't know anyone else who's a day trader other than that one person. Well, we're starting to get some movement down. I do like that. I know it's kind of choppy, but I like that it's starting to hold below this low of day anchored VWAP. So if that bounce at 600 was indeed going to hold, then buyers are taking a little break. Buyers are taking a nap. Because right now, sellers have it. From what I'm seeing. But that's of course on the 1 minute chart that I'm looking at. If you zoom out to the 15 minute, it still looks like it's possibly establishing a base and this 600 level could hold. We shall see. When I zoomed out, so I had this 575-ish level marked off from the high volume node. I actually did it with you guys, so hopefully you saw how I found it. But I love the confluence when I looked at the session volume profile and zoomed out and saw that there's that one here that is untested. So what I mean by untested is here's the level And none of the other sessions have come down to that level yet. And there is a high likelihood that session or point of controls get retested. So now that there's that double confluence for that level, I like it even more. But let's see if we actually get some continuation and it goes down there. This chop is making me unsure. Brian says he's short from 642. Nice. You're short from way up here. Right. Where's my entry? 641. Oh, okay. You're about the same as me. Come on. Don't keep chopping around that VWAP. Let's just dump it. Come on, let's get it over with. Come on, sellers, let's go. Dun dun dun. Man. All right, so yesterday we told dad jokes. What are we going to do today during the chop? I was going to say maybe I should start singing, but then all of you guys would sign off. You don't want that. You don't want that to happen. Brian says, fingers crossed, this is a bull trap. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking this might be a bear trap. That was a pretty strong buy up right there. Maybe it was trapping everyone in shorts so that we can just explode to the upside. Kind of starting to look a little bit like that's what's going to happen. This is kind of the line in the sand for me. If it doesn't reject here, then I think we're going to get some continuation higher. And I will be stopped out. I have my stop loss right above. Right there. Almost going to snag it. There she goes. Yeah. Kind of starting to look like that was a little trap. And that area that we bounced at 600, it might hold. We still have some spots up here where we could reject. These same levels are pretty valid. We have the anchored VWAP from the New York session high. And then we have our New York open anchored VWAP. I'm definitely not going to be quick to flip long all of a sudden, because we still have some areas that I could see us possibly rejecting. But for now, that was a little bit of a trap. Stopping out some of those people who are still trying to short. So for me, I think what I would do, I'm going to step away because I've been staring at the screen. I'm starting to like see longs and shorts. But I'm going to set an alert here at 6:32 because that would mean that we're breaking below these two wicks and we're also breaking below this anchored VWAP again. So we could potentially be continuing lower. And then I'm also going to watch this area right here because that's the overnight VWAP and the initial balance low. So I'm actually going to put an alert around this level at 7:31. That way I can be prepared. If we hit that level, I can see how price reacts. So that's what I'm going to do, set some alerts and wrap up for the day. But hopefully you guys learned something. Thanks for joining me. Hope you all stay green. Trade safe. Have a good one, you guys.